It is my current goal to beat the game of Pokemon Yellow every single week in a solo challenge using all 151 Pokedex entries. And today we are taking a look at Farfetch'd. This was actually the first Pokemon that I thought about when doing the concept of the idea of the MurDUCken. And there you'll see that I named it Mashed, the rival Mashed, as a joke because I knew that it was already preset to Carp, who I am actually thankful for. The joke for me was going to be, I'm thankful for mashed potatoes. But actually, I am thankful for my friend Carp, Dark Carp. To be specific, he is another Pokemon content creator who I have done so many different things with, whether it be through Rat House, a content creation group that we do stuff with that is kind of external of Pokemon. There's going to be some Pokemon stuff on there eventually, but that's not the main focus. But we do a lot of, Pokemon stuff on like Mondays and things like that together. So definitely check him out. A really, really, truly great guy and one of the best friends that I could possibly ask for. So this one goes out to him today. But today, like I said, we are looking at Farfetch'd, and this is a Pokemon that I remember first trying to get it in Pokemon Red, the first game that I ever had, and that was only available by trading a Spearow in Vermilion City. Now in Pokemon Yellow, they eventually added it to routes 12 and 13, which made it much easier to catch and use, and I think I used it then in that playthrough, or at least once as a kid, but I didn't really like it at all in Red and Blue because of the fact that I didn't really quite understand what it meant by like the badge levels and everything like that. So I would have this bird that was so strong and would level up so quickly because of the trading boost experience. But then eventually it would get so high that it would not listen to me. And so then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go catch a bird Pokemon that will listen to me and go catch a Zapdos like every other kid my age. But this run in particular really reminded me of just how great this Pokemon is. And also it's one of those things that like with age comes wisdom, right? And so there's that factor of now knowing certain mechanics of this game and also specifically this generation, right? As a kid, for sure, I was a firm believer in if it doesn't do damage, why would I take the move? But now as an adult, I can see that setup moves can frequently be very important and can frequently make a solo challenge really be hit or miss, right? And specifically today, we are going to have access to a move that we have seen a lot of times on this channel, and that is Swords Dance. And Swords Dance is such a huge move. It does so much good for us, and so we're definitely going to be taking advantage of that. If you've never seen this channel before, if you've never seen a solo challenge in Generation 1, there's this great little feature. It's a glitch, but it's a feature, I'm going to put that in heavy quotes, that happens only in this generation, which is that every time you use a move that boosts a stat, any badge that is currently boosting any stat also then gets re-rolled and re-added onto your stat. So if my attack goes up by 2 stages, I will also see my defense get boosted as well, even though it's supposed to only be attack. But Swords Dance is really going to boost things like our speed, our special, our defense, and of course our attack will be pretty huge, which is going to be something that we're going to need because of the fact that we are looking at a Pokemon that really Fly is going to be the only great flying type move that we can use, and then we're going to have to really rely on things like Body Slam to be the only thing that we can really use to cut through the strong majority of the Pokemon that we are going to be going up against. So Fly is really going to be very crucial for all of the Ghost Pokemon because it's the only move that we're going to have that's going to work on them. And then Body Slam, we're really going to have to boost that attack up because a lot of Pokemon will be able to withstand Body Slam and will resist it. So all those ground types, all those rock types. And so we're going to need that boost to push ourselves to a much higher level and to do much more damage so that way it kind of evens out, I think. But Farfetch'd is really going to see a lot of great things happen with these boosts, and I cannot wait to show you what this duck is capable of. And luckily, because of how this Pokemon is set up and just the fact that we obviously have something that's super effective against everything within the forest, it is not that difficult to really kind of boost through our levels very quickly and then eventually end up at Brock's gym at level 15. Now this is, I think, a little bit of a gamble, but I felt like all of my knowledge from previous bird Pokemon gave me at least a little bit of an idea on what I could do. And so I came into here and I immediately go in, I defeat that little junior trainer, and now up against Brock. The key is going to be Sand Attack. sand attack until it feels like I can go no further. Then I can start lowering his defense, and then I can start hitting. And so this is going to be a huge factor here because Geodude is something that would really just take so much chip damage. And then with Onix, I have to make sure that I am keeping him preoccupied during the bide attacks by not giving anything that he can then hit me back with. But that's also perfect because that's when I can use all of my sand attacks and all of my leers. Now, the big thing, of course, is that if he still hits me with a bind, I'm in trouble. However, I should be able to, yep, and there it is, I should be able to just use Peck 2 more times and finish him out before the bide can even happen. And so therefore we have our first badge with this bird. And after facing all of the people on the way to Mount Moon and then being really selective within Mount Moon as to who I fight, I can get up to level 20, which is going to be a great level for going up against Rival 2. Normally, some of my other solo challenge Pokemon would actually be higher, but there were quite a few other Pokemon within Mount Moon that would resist me kind of the same way that Brock would. So it just sort of felt right to not try and waste our time and just keep moving and see if we can do this kind of quickly. This is not necessarily my official speedrun attempt with Farfetch'd, but I just figured, as always, why not just see how fast we can get it done? And so here we go up against the rival, and we're getting a little dangerously close just because of the accuracy debuffs, but Farfetch'd, of course, comes through in the end and gets that W against the rival. Now, Nugget Bridge and the route leading up to Bill's house is usually not really an issue and something that I don't showcase a lot, but today I want to make sure that I showed the moment where we get the move of Swords Dance, because as you can see, 23 is actually a pretty low level, I feel like, to get access to this move. And so it feels great. This is way faster than needing to wait until Saffron City to get this move, which is really going to set us up quite nicely. That move and that specific fight was a little closer than I probably would have liked it to be, but, maybe I should have just healed before I went up to it. Who knows? Either way, we still get the W, we get the new move, and we get almost level 25, which is definitely why we're going to have to go up against all of the trainers here in Misty's gym, just to make sure that we're set up quite nicely against her Pokemon. I'm going to use a potion here. There we go. See, that's what I should have done earlier. Then we're going to go up against the junior trainer with the Goldeen, who is not usually an issue, though the Confuse situation from Supersonic is kind of dangerous at times, especially if you're going to boost your attack, because then you're hitting yourself harder. But it does not happen today, and therefore we are now ready to go up against Misty. Now, Misty definitely likes to do a lot of situations like whether it is a Harden or if it's X-Defend to boost the defense, but by setting up 3 times and getting to +6, there it is. Misty is done. That might be one of the easiest Misty fights we've actually ever had on this channel. Of course, up next is the SS Ann, and here's where we're going to pick up a very typical move of Body Slam. But of course, remember, as I've mentioned before, it's one of those things where some Pokemon, maybe we don't really need to go grab it, maybe it's not really all that necessary. But for Farfetch'd today, if you look at that move pool on the right-hand side of the screen, it's pretty necessary. It's going to be pretty much one of our only key moves that we're going to be able to use here on this run. So we're looking pretty set up at this point. Like this learn set is pretty great. And so now we can go up against Rival 3, but I didn't even set up. Honestly, Body Slam is absolutely carrying. I really did consider picking up Agility. I really had to think about this one because of the fact that it could have been yet another great way to set up. But in the end, I thought, no, let's keep Sand Attack because for now, it might be something that can kind of save us just a little bit. So then after we pick up the move Cut, we can move on to Lieutenant Surge. And Lieutenant Surge is just notoriously bad in this game. He throws the fight a lot, even though he's got a Raichu that has Thunderbolt that could one-shot me, I guarantee that. But instead today he goes for X speed, the Paralyzed cuts that speed in half, so I still attack first, and we get the badge. Now, speaking of getting a badge, this is probably going to be the easiest thing that we can do on this entire run, and that is Erica's Gym. Typically, I don't fight the person on the far left-hand side of the screen, but I'm going to need that today just to get me as close as possible to level 36. I unfortunately can't get there before the fight, which means I'm not going to be able to set up against the Tangela, which does kind of concern me just a little bit, but it doesn't really matter, I think, because at the end of the day, Peck is going to do so much damage. And also, I mean, honestly, Body Slam would also be pretty hard hitting, I would say. But the thing is that after we can kind of squeeze through the Tangela, just one sword stance is plenty to set up our defense boost and still our offensive boost to then absolutely crush the Weeping Bell, barely not beat the Gloom, but luckily she does not heal, and so we get the win. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. On to the next one. And obviously the next thing that we have to do before we can go to Fuchsia City is we do need to go pick up the Poke Flute, which is only possible if we go to the Pokemon Tower and save Mr. Fuji. But of course, one of our obstacles there is rival number 4. It gets a little concerning seeing Firo mirror move our Swords Dance, but it never attacks, so it really poses no main threat, and neither does the rest of the team. So Farfetch'd gets to move on, and here is then that next gym. And this is one of those fun things to me, which is that a lot of the times we come in here and there's a lot of kind of needing to sometimes go back and forth to the Pokemon Center, or I have to heal a lot in between the fights just because of the way that certain moves, use special versus attack and everything like that in this generation. Not every Pokemon has a great answer for the Pokemon in this gym. But the thing is that this is a precursor to Sabrina. They are almost all Psychic type Pokemon and they're all pretty defensively weak. So Body Slam really carries us through this entire thing. Then getting to Koga, it's going to be kind of the same thing. We set up a little bit, and now I'm seeing something a little scary, which is we have been poisoned. So Fly was going to be the best possible move, but I'm finding that because I've set up so many times that Body Slam should be more than enough, especially because of the fact that in Generation 1, you do not take poison damage if you knock someone out. So it gets a little close there with that Toxic, and I probably should have just done Body Slam instead of Fly, but hey, I'll take the badge. Then we go to Rival 5, Rival 5 in many people's minds. And here is kind of a similar issue as what we just faced, although this time it's much worse. We get poisoned and we lost a lot of health early on, and unfortunately the setup was not enough for the Cloyster, and so the Aurora Beam will take us out, and that is our first reset. And it is here in Silphco where I do feel like this is where the rival for most Pokemon really starts to make that turn towards pretty difficult. If it wasn't difficult before, it's starting to get more difficult now because he's really changing up his difficulty. Things are starting to evolve. Things are starting to have actual learn sets. So it gets tough. Luckily, with enough setup and no poisoning this time, we can defeat him and move on. And of course, that moving on means Team Rocket, the trio. I actually have not showed them yet in this video because we skipped the hidden base. Mount Moon was of no concern, and I typically don't show a lot of Pokemon Tower unless it's a really challenging space for any Pokemon, but there's really a lot of trainers that only have 1, maybe 2 Pokemon, so it's usually pretty quick. Now, here with Giovanni's first team that we're seeing, this technically is his second team, but again, we skipped that first one. For this one, it is another situation of we just need to really make sure that we set up enough because half of his Pokemon are not evolved, and so we can Body Slam our way through this as well. Then at level 49, that should still be good enough to take on Sabrina, just because of the fact that it's that thing I mentioned from the Fuchsia City gym, which is that defensively, her Pokemon are pretty terrible. So 2 Swords Dance, and very lucky that the Flashes didn't do anything, that they failed, and that means that we now outspeed, and we outgun for sure. 3 hits, all 3 Pokemon down. That is an easy 6th badge. We are also at an hour now, so things are really starting to pick up. We move very quickly in Cinnabar Island. I mean, I basically am sprinting through this thing. I am avoiding every possible thing that I don't need. Then here against Blaine, unfortunately, I do take another reset. We're really needing our attack power to be at its height, and getting a burn cuts it down. So, of course, that's not a recipe for success at all. So then we go up against him one more time, and we do 2 setups against the Ninetales. We have to be very careful because the Confuse Ray could be pretty terrible. But luckily, this time through, Body Slam and the setups, once again, are the key. Going up against Giovanni is sometimes a pretty concerning thing, especially when you've got a flying type Pokemon. Obviously, all of his ground type moves can't hit us. Earthquake, Fissure, it won't matter. However, one of the biggest concerns is that no matter how much we set up, no matter how good we get to be, unfortunately the level up there is not good going into this fight. And there it is. Rhydon, it doesn't matter if he's paralyzed. Most of the time he'll still hit. His rock slide somehow is just too much. I don't know how he rarely misses, but okay, the inaccuracy, I guess, is sort of out the window for Rhydon. I use one of my 11 rare candies. Well, so it's not 11 yet, but it will be by the end of the game. One of the 11 ones that I will pick up through the regular overworld. There is a 12th one in the power plant, but it never really feels necessary unless a Pokemon is very, very weak. And so we're going to use one of those to make sure that we don't level up in the middle of this fight. I feel like that was the main thing that killed us because he one-shot us very easily. Now this time, he lives through 2, and he does still hit me, but you can see how I live with some HP left, and so therefore, that rare candy made all the difference. Not leveling up in the middle of the fight did not reset my other stats. And so we get to get the 8th badge, and it is on to the Elite Four. But, of course, first and foremost, we have one last obstacle before them, and that is the Rival 6 team. Now, this is kind of a nebulous one, right? Like, we've obviously seen some problems with this team before, but this is also one of those situations where just because some of the Pokemon have evolved, it's kind of like that Giovanni second fight / first fight for today. There's a lot of situations where some of the Pokemon just aren't really carrying their weight, like Execute especially and Kadabra. And so if you can get the setup in the proper spaces, you can then Body Slam and Fly, and therefore we are now on to the last bit. So I feel like this is getting into some really interesting territory as well, because of the fact that I did some training in Victory Road, and maybe I could have done just a little bit more. But I was looking at that time and going, I think I can do this in under an hour and a half. I actually genuinely think that a bird Pokemon, even though there's a lot of stuff that is up against the flying types that just really sets them in a bad spot, I actually think that Farfetch'd could be the one that does it. And I think a lot of it comes down to that Sword Stance move. But your biggest obstacle is truly going to be Lorelei. Lorelei is a real problem for fire types and for flying types. And a lot of that comes down to most of these Pokemon are also water type Pokemon. And then also you have, of course, all of the ice moves at her disposal. So you have to really try to make sure that you're not losing too much damage early on to the Dugong. And of course, a lot of the times she gets a lot of critical hits, which also, I mean, a critical hit is always a critical hit, right? It's never going to be something that you can really do much about. But if you get lucky enough with your setup with her, you can get through quickly. It's just a matter of timing things right and really making sure that A, the crits don't happen, but also B, she kind of goes to sleep sometimes. You know what I mean? Like that time that she uses the rest is pretty crucial for this Pokemon. But, you know, it comes down to just a little bit of RNG and some luck, because a lot of the times the AI will see a kill shot and just sort of go for it. But then sometimes too, her regular AI of just sort of, oh, well, I've taken some damage, I should then heal. I should then use rest. That's the kind of sweet spot that you're sort of hoping for a lot of the times with her. And it also does not help if I immediately do a setup of Sword Stance, but this time I really took the gamble and thought, okay, it's going to boost my special enough that perhaps we'll live through the Aurora Beams if there's no critical hits. And that is exactly what happens here. We live with 3 HP from the Dugong all the way through to the end of Lapras. And there we get to move on to Bruno. Now, you'll also recognize that on the right-hand side of the screen, my overlay did break, and it's going to take me a second to then reset it. And once it's back, everything will be properly showing. That's now the correct team. But luckily, I thought for a second that maybe my resets were incorrect. Luckily, that break happened after. And I don't really know why it happens either, but, you know, it's not really my concern at the end of the day. It's a quick reset, so it doesn't really matter. And then, speaking of resets, this could be a place that surprisingly could give us one. And it's the same situation as going up against Giovanni, right? With the Onyx, they both have Rock Slide, and that can hit us pretty tremendously. And as you can see, we get really low here. We get very lucky that the way that this stat boost have happened is that we get to survive through some of those things because they also lowered our defense. So those rocks would have absolutely ended us if we had not gone first. Then we get to go up against Agatha. Agatha could be a wall for a lot of Pokemon, but luckily a lot of her moves can't hit me. So one of the big things that we have to really worry about is confusion because we can hit ourselves, obviously. So if you can break through that very easily, very quickly, and set up like this, you can really just sort of sweep through. Fly, I really wish we had a move like Wing Attack instead of Fly, just so we had less turns to go through. But still, look at that. First try for Agatha, frequently a huge issue for many Pokemon, not a problem for Farfetch'd. This duck is absolutely cruising. 1 hour, 23 minutes going up against Lance, and really only the middle Pokemon are my main concerns. I mean, yes, Dragonite does have Blizzard, it does have Thunder, but those moves are fairly inaccurate, so maybe we could get lucky with those. And the Gyarados is a hard hitter, but with setups, he actually can't really do that much. And so with those setups, you body slam your way through the rest of those 5 Pokemon, that's a done deal, baby. So we are looking very good. Now I'm going to show, I usually kind of cut around all of my menu stuff just because it's, extra time to be watching. But I do something really interesting here, in my opinion, which is I get nervous about this last fight. And I think, okay, maybe depending on which Pokemon I go up against, perhaps somewhere like the Exeggutor, maybe I could use a rest move to kind of heal back up after I do all my setups and take some potential damage. So I have that move in my back pocket just in case things don't go well. Especially, again, also I could get poisoned here because that's really the only move that Sandslash could use against me. I mean, it could probably use Slash. Slash would probably be a better move, and I don't know why it doesn't go for it, but I guess it's looking for the status effect. But with 3 setups and +6 on my attack, that is Farfetch'd done in 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 53 seconds. I want that to sink in for just one brief moment. We are exactly 4 minutes and 10 seconds past where we were when we defeated Lorelei. So that means that every other person only took us about a minute, including moving through their rooms, saving, and using items. So wow, Farfetch'd really, really picked up speed, especially at the end there. And what a great bird. Very thankful for him, very thankful for this run, very thankful for my community. And I'll probably say that again next week in a much larger way. But just know that if you've watched this far, I really appreciate you. Giving comments or shares or subscribing to the channel really helps us grow. And I am trying to get us to 500 subscribers by the end of the year, so every little interaction helps. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all next week for another solo challenge in MurDUCken.